Hello, and it's just about a week to go on ThePapare.com, and we are starting now to look ahead to the Rugby World Cup 2015, something that a lot of us at ThePapare have been waiting almost 4 years for, and it's upon us now as England host the Rugby World Cup, and the All Blacks will be looking to defend their title. Of course, the home nation, England, is one of the forerunners to take that title off of them. We'll see what happens when it comes to the 31st of October, but before that, plenty of group action to happen, and we'll be first previewing the group of death here on ThePapare.com, and that group of death features the teams behind me here on the board: Australia, England, Wales, Fiji and Uruguay. And those three teams at the top there, England, Wales and Australia, will all be wanting to go through to a quarterfinal. The problem, you ask me? The problem is that only two of these teams actually qualify, because it's the top two teams after the group stages that go through into the knockout rounds. So as a result of that, it means one of Australia, England, Wales or Fiji will not see quarterfinal action, and that's something that one of these teams will not be too happy about when it comes to the knockout stages. Let's have a look first at Australia, who are the front runners in this group, I would think. They are double world champions already, because they won in 1991 under Nick Farr-Jones and in 1999 under John Eales as well. Now they're looking to win under this man, Stephen Moore, and he took over at a troubled time for Wallabies rugby. He took over from guys like Rocky Elsom, James Horwill and Will Genia in a time that was a bit turbulent off the field for the Wallabies, and as a result they were leaking a lot of players to other codes. And Stephen Moore has been entrusted with the task that he has done quite well at. And if you remember, not too long ago, they actually managed to beat the All Blacks in a game, a competitive game in the Bledisloe Cup. So that's something that Stephen Moore will be taking with him as momentum to the World Cup. And quite recently they also managed to massacre by 47 points to 10 the USA in Chicago on their way to London for this World Cup. So Michael Cheika is a guy who's come through from the Waratahs, a champion province in the New South Wales, a champion province in the Super 15 rugby as well. So he's someone who knows his players well. He's not been afraid to experiment, and slowly the Achilles heel of the Australian rugby has been the scrum, and he's dealt with that rather well. So these are the two guys who are entrusted with leadership. Stephen Moore on the field, of course, he'll be making a lot of those line-out calls. That's going to be a really key area. But tactically, Michael Cheika is one of the best coaches out there. He's got club experience and he's got international experience as well. So let's see who are the players he's chosen to do business for him. And of course, you can't look further than Michael Hooper and David Pocock. Australia tried that tactic in the last Tri-Nations as well. They started off with both David Pocock and Michael Hooper on both flanks. They're going back to that same tactic of George Smith and Phil Wall that they started out on the flanks as well a few years back. And it worked for them. That's the game in which they beat the All Blacks. Will they try it again at the World Cup? I definitely think so, especially against teams like England. Who else have they got? They've got Israel Folau, probably one of the most attacking players in world rugby at the moment. Takes it beautifully at the back. The high ball is something that he takes with his eyes closed almost, and he will cut some defenses to ribbons. Will those defenses be England's? Will those defenses be Welsh? That's something that we have to find out. But just like some players love to steal the limelight, one of those is Quade Cooper. Will he be able to do it? He's not exactly the sort of man who has been brilliant at international rugby. He's quite good at one level below, but he hasn't brought that panache up to international level, and he may just make some huge mistakes which may cost his team. The other man to look out for, of course, Matt Giteau. He's the one that brings all the experience into that back line. Who he'll be playing outside of is a question. Will Matt Toomua start at number 10, or will Bernard Foley start at number 10, or will Quade Cooper start at number 10? Cheika's got plenty of options there. So let's wait and see how that works out. Just like those guys will be the keys to watch. These are the guys that missed out, unfortunately. Nick White, of course, did really well at scrum half for a while, but unfortunately his place has now gone to another Nick. James Horwill, surprise omission. He was the captain from last season, and he has been given the boot as well. So that's something that surprised a lot of Australians. But one guy who probably had it coming, James Conner, had a few discipline issues, but also a guy that can really bring that X factor into the Wallabies team. Has Michael Cheika made a mistake in leaving him out? Only time will tell, and Australia will be looking to cross their first hurdle, and that is to win 2 games or 3 games in that group to actually advance to the quarterfinals and make themselves safe. Whether they can beat England or Wales, they will have to wait and see. Then, of course, we have the home side, everybody's favorite team here at ThePapare.com, except mine, of course. But England will be the team to watch. They have real focus coming into this World Cup. They played one bad game against France, but apart from that, they won most of their warm-up games. And that's something that will hold their coach, Stuart Lancaster, in good stead, because he's a guy that came in under pressure. The Rugby Football Union has not confirmed his contract after the World Cup, so he's under pressure to deliver. And the other man who's really come a long way in the last couple of years, Chris Robshaw, he's the captain, plays at number 7 and is an outstanding player and is an outstanding leader as well. It's very clear when England plays that they have a lot of respect for the way Robshaw controls his game, and he has won the respect of that dressing room, and that's something a few captains before him, perhaps until Martin Johnson, were not really able to do, to lead England with a real pizzazz. These are the men that have been entrusted with doing the job for England. Ben Youngs has been a catalyst at scrum half. He's a guy that can really make things happen, especially late on in the games against tired defenses. But the man that is key for me in this England setup is Mike Brown. He has been outstanding at fullback. He's one of the unwritten heroes of this England team, and I'd reckon he could find a place in any of the Southern Hemisphere teams, the way he approaches his rugby and the way he attacks from fullback. The other man is Sam Burgess. Now, he's an unknown quantity. He's a man that was playing rugby league just 6 months ago, and now he's moved over to Bath, and he plays his rugby at number 12, and he plays his rugby at number 6, so he's not really sure exactly where he fits in. But Stuart Lancaster, in a very highly publicized decision, went for Sam Burgess over much more preferred names like maybe Luther, Burrell, and people like that. So he's taken a big gamble. Will Sam Burgess come good in this World Cup? Once again, only time will tell. The other man that's under a little bit of pressure, Owen Farrell. George Ford is playing really well at fly half, but Owen Farrell is a better place kicker. So who will father Andy Farrell go for? You think fathers and sons only happen in Sri Lanka, but Andy Farrell and Owen Farrell are the father and son combination in the England camp as well. Who will they go for? Will it be George Ford or Owen Farrell? That's the key question that England fans will be asking. And of course, Johnny May, he's the speedster. He scored some outstanding tries in the warm-up matches. He scored some good tries in the Six Nations as well. He will be really one to watch out for come this World Cup, because he adds that real potency that Mike Brown also adds to this back line. Who are the players that missed out? The players that missed out, of course, unfortunately, Manu Tuilangi. He actually assaulted a female police officer after being drunk out one night, and of course England put the lid on him completely. They said discipline issues take precedence, and Manu Tuilangi is no longer in the squad. You remember in 2011 in New Zealand, he actually jumped off a ship that was in the Wellington or Auckland harbours, and he has a history of problems when he drinks a little bit too much. Dylan Hartley also is a man that England may have taken, may not have taken. They have a few problems at hooker. They might have gone for his experience, but they chose eventually not to take him. And the other man that missed out quite spectacularly was Danny Cipriani. He was the one that was left out for Sam Burgess to make the squad. Cipriani is a guy who came in and sparked some action, made some real differences when he came on in the warm-up games. Will they miss him? I personally think so. I think Sam Burgess was not the right man to take, but Cipriani also probably will agree. But let's wait and see how England go. The next team, the team that has been under quite a bit of pressure lately, a team that did manage to beat Ireland recently in a warm-up game, but have not done too much apart from that, will be Wales. And Wales are a team that has really flattered to deceive in the World Cup. They've had some excellent performances and some not very good performances. So Sam Warburton, you may remember, the flanker, he was the one who was red-carded in the semi-finals of the last World Cup. The semi-finals that everyone expected Wales to actually come through and win against France. You remember he lifted Vincent Clerc into the dirt, and with that spear tackle, he was red-carded immediately, very early on in the game. So as a result, he will have a point to prove. Sam Warburton has come through injury, and he's been pushed all the way. He's been pushed all the way by Justin Tipuric, one of the players we'll talk about in a little while as well. They've got real riches in the third row, Wales, and if they can use those, if Warren Gatland, their coach, their very experienced New Zealand coach, if he can do the business, then I think Group A will really be an entertaining group to watch out for. Let's look at the players that Wales have entrusted to do the job for them. Justin Tipuric had an outstanding performance against Ireland the last time these two teams met in a warm-up game. He was absolutely fantastic, playing in blue headgear. You can't miss him. Who will they pick in place of in place of that number 7 jersey? Will they move Sam Warburton to the number 6 jersey? Will they keep Tipuric at 7? That's a question that Gatland will have to answer. Alan Wynne-Jones, the captain, he has been outstanding at lock, probably one of the best second row forwards since the retirement of guys like Victor Matfield and Bakis Botha. He's a real massive engine room presence and someone that will be looking to dominate the Welsh line out. Dan Biggar, of course, now his role has become even more crucial because he's the guy in charge of making that back line go forward, but also he will now be entrusted with the kicking duties, which will be an added burden for him to shoulder, because he wasn't doing that in the recent past, because this man, Leigh Halfpenny, he suffered an ACL injury last weekend, an anterior cruciate ligament injury, which means he will be out for the World Cup, maybe out for up to 6 months. The most accurate kicker in World Cup rugby or in world rugby at the moment, and he's not available for Wales. That's going to be something that really sets Warren Gatland's preparations back. Also, he's lost Rhys Webb, the form scrum half in that lineup, and we'll talk about his replacement in a moment as well. George North, one of the biggest, most exciting wings in world rugby. He's a guy to watch out for this tournament. He's been having severe concussion issues, but they've brought him back, the winger, and I think he might really have a point to prove on home ground as well. Let's wait and see how things work out for him. It'll be lovely to see him in action. He was brilliant against the Southern Hemisphere sides for the Lions. Let's see whether he's got it at the World Cup as well. The players that are missing out, Gareth Anscombe, unfortunately, the back misses out his utility, but unfortunately not good enough for this. Mike Phillips, he's the experienced scrum half. He's got 99 caps for Wales already. He'll be dying for his 100th cap, but unfortunately he was left out. But now with Rhys Webb's injury, he might actually come back into the team. For me, I think that's a good thing, because the inexperienced scrum halves that were chosen as backup may not have had it to last all the tournament, so it might be a blessing in disguise that Mike Phillips is back in the squad. Jonathan Davies, unfortunately, also suffering a serious injury 6 months ago. He was outstanding for the Lions at outside centre, but Wales will unfortunately have to do without this man. And Jonathan Davies, Rhys Webb, Leigh Halfpenny, really big names missing for the Welsh, but that means that they'll just have to play a little bit harder. Who knows? It might bring Wales together. They have big games against England, big games against Australia, and a massive match against Fiji, because I'm assuming everyone will be beating Uruguay. So let's see how Wales go. And then, of course, everybody's favorite sevens team, Fiji. Unfortunately, at World Cup time, they have to bring 8 more guys onto the park. And those are the 8 guys that generally don't lead them that 80 minutes. So that's something that Fiji have to make sure they get right this time around. They've got as many as 11 players who are playing their rugby in Europe, and that's something that will give them very good experience at this level. They've played against this opposition before, maybe not as teams, but they've played against these players, so they know they don't have to take a step back. But Akapusi Ngera, he's the man who will be leading them from the front, and he's someone who's got quite a bit of experience. And John McKee is a coach also who's been with the Fijians for quite some time. So let's wait and see whether these two can bring out the combinations. Fiji made it to the quarterfinals once or twice before, and they've had some good performances, especially we remember with Rupeni Tautaunimbuka when he was playing in 2007. Fiji were an absolute revelation. They won't have him this time, of course, but they have Leone Nakarawa and Ben Volavola, and these are guys who will be able to cut open defenses one-on-one. They will be able to take men out. So can Fiji get those beautiful offloads going that they do at sevens rugby? Will they be able to do the little magic, the overhead stuff, and take it to hand? That's something that will make a massive difference for Fiji if they're absolutely able to do that. Nemani Nandolo, we all know him from this team, the Crusaders. They're the ones that played him on the wing. He was huge on the wing, physically and metaphorically, actually. And give him the ball, and he can make mincemeat of any opposition winger. Doesn't matter whether they're England or Australia or Wales or whoever they may be, he's going to run straight, he's going to run hard. So getting him the ball is going to be a priority. And Vereniki Goneva, also a man who can create a little bit of trouble and put in those hard hits, and they'll be looking to make some aggressive defensive tackles. These are the men that miss out, unfortunately, for Fiji: Napoleoni Nalanga, Savaneka Tabakanalagi, and Seremiah Mbai, the most experienced of those men to miss out, unfortunately. He was brilliant for Fiji for so many years. The number 12, unfortunately, misses out this time around. So they will have to substitute the experience of him and Nicky Little in that 10 and 12 combination. That's something that they will be trying to do desperately. Uruguay, of course, will probably end up wooden spoons in this group. They are not a team that many expect a lot from. Along with Argentina, they qualify in second place in the South American division, and Santiago Villaseca is the one who has been entrusted with the captaincy, and Pablo Lemoyne is the man. He's just 40 years old, not very experienced as a coach, but he will be hoping to take them at least some distance. And this is their halves combination, Felipe Berkesi and Agustin Ormachea, who will be entrusted with that half combination. So will they play a kicking game? Will they go back to their traditional football roots and just try to win territory and try to win penalties and go from there? That's something we'll have to wait and see. Not really a lot to talk about the Uruguayans, because I don't see them winning a match in this group. But it's great to see them there nevertheless, and good to see that the teams have not been made smaller from the last edition. So that brings us to the end of Group A, the group of death, probably going to be the most interesting group in this Rugby World Cup 2015. We hope you enjoy the action from this group. We'll have the fixtures all posted up on ThePapare.com as well, so you can follow them in whatever fashion you want to. Don't forget to keep it tuned to ThePapare.com for all our Rugby World Cup previews.